Good afternoon, everyone.
Eddie!
I'd like to welcome everybody here to the Military Museum and for the City of New Bedford Veterans Advisory Board, as well as the City of New Bedford Mayor's Office and City Council for the declaration of New Bedford being a Purple Heart City. This has been a long time in the making, over a couple of years with a few groups, including City Council, to get this done. Now that it's done, it's time to celebrate it and to get the word out to the rest of the country as to New Bedford honoring our Purple Heart veterans. At this time, I'd like to have everybody stand for the posting of our colors. Mayor Mitchell, permission to post colors. Advance the colors. Bill Nedgewitz, President of the Fort Table Association, will now lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And for the singing of the national anthem, we have Bree LaFavor, Miss Teen, New Bedford.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Bree. At this time, we will have the invocation from Father Mike Racine.
But I do have a prayer, and very happy to be with all of you this afternoon. And so we pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you today to bless and honor the beloved city of New Bedford, which bears the distinguished title of a Purple Heart City. We thank you for the brave men and women who call this community home, and for the profound sacrifices they and their families have made in defense of our nation and its freedoms. We remember those who have received the Purple Heart, bearing the physical and spiritual wounds of battle. May your healing touch and your peace, which surpasses all understanding, bring comfort and strength to their bodies and souls. Grant them wisdom, resilience, and a renewed faith as they navigate their journey. We also remember those who have made the ultimate sacrifice, and we lift their families and loved ones in prayer this day, asking that you would surround them with your divine comfort and support. May the presence of our veterans inspire our community to remember their courage and to actively advocate for their needs. And may we now, as a Purple Heart City, always honor their selfless service, protecting their legacies and demonstrate our deep gratitude for our actions. We ask your continued blessings and protections on all who serve our armed forces in this community. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Father Mike. We know you have a very busy schedule, and you always take time out to serve our veterans. So thank you once again.
You're very, very welcome. Please.
Please be seated. Right now, I would like to introduce Mr. Al Varelis. He's commander of Chapter 875 of the Military Order of the Purple Heart. His order is west of Springfield, Mass., but he covers all 6 New England states. And he and his wife were gracious enough to come down here today to do the official unveiling and to give us a welcome.
Read the proclamation. It's right here. That's also the proclamation.
How are you going to say a few words?
We're going to uncover in a second. They've got to do the proclamation.
What are they? All right. Whereas New Bedford has great admiration and utmost gratitude for all its citizens who have selflessly served in the armed forces that have been vital in maintaining the freedom and way of life enjoyed by all. And whereas the citizens of our city have been killed in action while serving in the armed forces and have been posthumously awarded the Purple Heart for their ultimate sacrifice. And whereas the Purple Heart is the oldest American military decoration and was created as a badge of military merit made of purple cloth in the shape of a heart with the word merit sewn upon it on August 7th, 1782 in Newburgh, New York by General George Washington, then reestablished as the Purple Heart on February 22nd, 1932 by General Douglas MacArthur. And whereas the heritage it represents is sacred to those who know the price paid to wear the Purple Heart. And whereas August 7th is nationally recognized as Purple Heart Day, therefore I, Jon Mitchell, Mayor of the City of New Bedford, do hereby proclaim the City of New Bedford a Purple Heart City, honoring the service and sacrifice of those from our city who were awarded the Purple Heart while serving in our nation's wars. Also be it proclaimed that the City of New Bedford will recognize August 7th annually as Purple Heart Day and urge our citizens and organizations to display the American flag as well as other public expressions of recognition of Purple Heart recipients. Given this day, August 23rd, 2025, Jon Mitchell, Mayor.
My name's Al Varelis. I'm the commander for Purple Heart Chapter 875, covering New England right now. I'm also the Region 1 adjutant, where we cover all of New England right on down to Virginia. The Purple Heart is the oldest military medal in any branch of the service. There's 3 confirmed right now of the original 3, the Badge of Merits, and that has its roots in Western Mass and Northern Connecticut. General George Washington created it, a design that they followed through on. The 3 that are known in Newburgh, New York is 2 of them. That's where the National Purple Heart Hall of Fame is located. One was given in Springfield by George Washington when he came up State Street in Springfield and stopped at the Armory for 2 nights. The awards went to Major Talmadge, who had the Dragoons, which were formed Western Mass and Northern Connecticut area. It was like a horse cavalry, light cavalry. He accompanied Washington up to Boston. It was 3 of their members that were given the ribbon. There's some. Well, anyhow, so it's like we appreciate coming to these cities and towns. Massachusetts has 351 cities and towns. We're approaching 200 right now that have become Purple Heart. cities and towns, you ask most people what's the longest highway in the United States, they'll say Route 66. That runs from Midwest to California. We just completed the connection. Route 20 goes from Boston to upstate Washington, state of Washington. So some towns that you go through, you'll see signs. You got Purple Heart City, Purple Heart Community, Purple Heart Town. You'll see Purple Heart Trail. And we've made, if you've been down south and you go down 95, the state of South Carolina has about a 25-foot sign on 95, and it's probably about 15 feet high. They are a Purple Heart state. Now, we don't only do the signs, we do ROTC, Junior ROTC Leadership Awards. We do Girl Scouts, Boy Scout Leadership Awards. We do the Badge of Merit Award for Young Marines, the Sea Cadets and things like that. So there's a lot going on. And one of the next project that I've started for this region, for the whole Region 1, is Medal of Honor communities. And a lot of people don't realize it, but like Massachusetts has 167 Medal of Honor winners. Your town, I believe, out in the foyer, how many? Seven. And going through the list now, we're going to do this with the new signs that are white and it say Purple Heart, Medal of Honor community with the picture of the 3 medals. And the city name will go on, or town, then the listing of the recipients. But it was an honor to come up here today to the town, unveil your sign, and we'd like to welcome you into the Purple Heart family on behalf of the Military Order of the Purple Heart. Thank you.
One thing I'd like to point out to everyone, once we get done and you can move around a little bit, our monthly display case that we have here, we've dedicated, who were the first ones, including the original box that was mailed to them for 1 cent, all the way up to Iraq, which we have our city's Veteran Service Officer, Chris Gomes, graciously placed his Purple Hat on exhibit for this program. So I want to thank Chris for that. The next speaker coming up is our mayor, Jon Mitchell, to give us some greetings as well as to not congratulate, but to honor our Purple Heart veterans who are present.
All right, thank you, everybody, and welcome. And thank you for showing up on a beautiful late summer's day. It is, look, everybody could be doing something else today, and each of you has decided to appear here because you have a family member who received the Purple Heart, and I notice a number of you here, you've received it yourself, and I also see others of you here who've received it, or you just care about honoring veterans, which is something here in New Bedford that we take very seriously. And so I thank you for being here today. I want to thank, in particular, the Veterans Advisory Board, Bob Bromley, and as well as Bill, as well as and Chris Gomes, of course, for their efforts in organizing this event. And I want to also acknowledge and thank the elected officials who are here today. For them, there are other demands on their time, and they're here because they believe it's important, and each one of them that I see here has been a champion of veterans' interests in their careers. Mark Sylvia, over my left shoulder, our state representative, as well as City Council President Shane Burgo, Ian Abreu, Sean Oliver, Maria Gesta, all from the City Council. I want to also thank, I don't see him here today, Joe Lopes as well. Hopefully I've captured everybody, but I also want to note the efforts of City Councilor Brian Gomes, who's been a vocal champion of the designation that we celebrate here today. First of all, I just want to acknowledge the Purple Heart recipients who are here today. If I could just impose upon you, Dan and Chris, and if anybody else, others, just to stand up and be recognized, if you wouldn't mind. I know there are a number of family members here as well. I won't ask you to stand, but I also note that, as I see, the family of Manny Leet, who fought in the Philippines on Luzon, and Man Rodriguez, all the way fighting in the hills of Afghanistan, and so many others in between who are here today, family members. And I want to thank you for being here today. I know it's meaningful to each one of you as well. So yes, there are many cities and towns across America that have this designation, but in New Bedford there's a lot more going on than most when it comes to paying tribute and revering the sacrifices of those who've served. New Bedford is, as you've heard me say so many times before, we're proudly a place that sends many of our sons and daughters into the service of the nation. On a per capita basis, we've always been a leader in America. This is a place that takes seriously everything that has to do with the celebration of veterans, from very reverent parades and beautifully done parades on Veterans and Memorial Day, as going to the treatment of our monuments, to just the condition of the flags across the city. We take it seriously because we we believe, as those who've come before us in New Bedford believe, that the way that we treat veterans, the way especially those who've been injured or worse in combat, says something about how we hold our republic and what that conveys to future generations. We want everybody to know that what those who you just saw stand and others mattered. What they did mattered an awful lot, and that's why we are here today. The Purple Heart, we honor veterans, but we also pay special tribute to those who have been injured in combat, so to the extent that they've received the Purple Heart. The Purple Heart isn't given out for mere flesh wounds. The Purple Heart is awarded for folks who've lost functionality or worse. And that is, more than anything else, a reflection of their deep commitment to the nation and to the republic. That's why we are here today. That's why we're doing it. So it's not when you drive down Route 6, 195, or any other entry points into the city and you see the sign, it's not just sort of this trifling gesture to because somebody said, hey, let's go do this because other places are doing it. We take this stuff seriously. So when you see that sign, know that there are people who have, in our city, who've grown up here, and many of whom have come back here, who've made that sacrifice. That's what these signs mean to all of us. And I hope that when when there are children who are coming up in school who see that sign, they'll say, I appreciate that, and maybe I should be thinking about my own service. And if we've done that, then this will all be a huge success. So I want to thank all of you. I want to thank Al for his stewardship of the program and his being here today. And again, most emphatically, I want to thank all of you for being here today. Thank you, everybody.
I forgot to mention one thing. The Purple Heart was chartered by Congress to be the only organization, Military of the Purple Heart, to represent Purple Heart and Gold Star families. The Gold Star families have lost family members. They are given the Purple Heart in memory of their loved one that was lost in battle. As far as the Purple Hearts go, there's 1.9 million of them that have been awarded since World War I. What I forgot to say, any Purple Heart recipients here or Gold Star families, I'm authorized by the commanding officer of the Old Ironsides in Boston to invite you on a 4-hour cruise in Boston Harbor on Old Ironsides. Now, it would have to be a Purple Heart member. I'm authorized to allow you one guest with you, and if there's any Gold Star family members here, you're welcome. See me afterwards, and I'll give you the information.
Thank you, Al. Thank you, Mayor Mitchell. Again, with anything with the city, we always have tremendous support here at the museum with the VAB, and today also with the Purple Heart designation from our city council. So I'd like to call forward Shane Burgo, who's president of the city council, for a few words.
Thank you, Mr. Bromley, and I'm always excited to come to the Military Museum and be greeted by Mr. Burns at the door and Mr. Souza and obviously Mr. Curry and everyone here. Thank you for hosting this event. It's a long time coming to have the Purple Heart City designation. As Mayor Mitchell pointed out, having the Dean of our City Council, Brian Gomes, really champion this cause. I also want to acknowledge our colleague, Sean Oliver, is also here with us as well. This has been so important for so many of us because we know that freedom is never actually free. And so for us, it's an honor to be here in the presence of so many that we know continue that sacrifice long after they've left the battlefield. So on behalf of the New Bedford City Council, we thank you for your service. We thank you for that sacrifice for you and for your family. And again, thank you. And thank you to the Purple Heart community. And we, again, are honored to be in your presence today. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Burgo. I'd like to, we have one member from our state delegation here, State Representative Mark Sylvia. And I'd like to have him come forward just to say a few words.
Thank you very much, Bob and Bill, and to the VSO and everyone that made today happen. My name is Mark Sylvia. I'm state representative from the 10th Bristol District. I'm here today not only on behalf of the other members of the Greater New Bedford delegation, Representative Cabral, Representative Hendricks, Representative Markey, and Representative Willett, but I'm also here on behalf of the citizens that I represent in New Bedford, Fairhaven, Mattapoisett, Marion, Rochester, and Acushnet. I want to first express deep gratitude and appreciation to all the veterans that are here today and those who are not, who have served bravely and selflessly over the course of many decades, years, and centuries to keep us a free nation. I also just want to acknowledge that this is not just a designation. This Purple Heart City designation is also a commitment from the city of New Bedford to its Purple Heart recipients, those that are here now, and those, sadly, that we will have in the future. The city is absolutely committed to all of their veterans. This is just another way to demonstrate that commitment. And the House of Representatives and the Senate are also deeply committed to supporting our veterans in whatever ways we can, whether it's through the HEROES Act or any other efforts that we can pass into law to support our veterans every day. So on behalf of the Greater New Bedford delegation and the House of Representatives, I just want to say thank you.
Thank you, Representative Sylvia. As we come up to our main speaker, I'd like to introduce him. I've met Gary a few years ago, and over the last few years, he's been one of our keynote speakers on Veterans Day, Memorial Day, as well as he had me participate in his Cape Verdean Veterans Association, American Veterans Association Memorial Day service this past Memorial Day. Gary is a New Bedford native, a graduate of Boston College. He retired from the United States Marine Corps as a lieutenant colonel and a JetBlue captain. As a Marine Corps aviator, he flew the FA-18 Hornet and the F-4S Phantom II. Gary is the first fighter pilot of Cape Verdean descent in the U.S. Armed Forces. Deployed worldwide, he flew in Desert Shield, Desert Storm, and with the infantry served in Operation Restore Hope in Mogadishu, Somalia, where he had led the United Nations World Food Program humanitarian outreach. Currently, he is a member of the New Bedford Airport Commission and a board member of the New England Center of Home for Veterans. Gary is also the commander of the Cape Verdean American Veterans Association. Please welcome Gary Correa.
Thank you very much for having me here today. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and a special greeting to the soldiers, sailors, airmen, guardsmen, and of course the Marines that are here. You're supposed to say hurrah. Hurrah. All right, a little bit, look, hurrah. There you go, that's a little bit better. Now I feel, get the blood going here. It's a privilege to stand here today on this special day at Fort Table Park. Growing up, I always knew this Fort Roderick. My association with Fort Rodman goes back to 1969, where I was one of the original 22 students in a new summer school named C-Lab. More to the point, it's most appropriate to be honoring New Bedford as a Purple Heart City with Fort Rodman looming large in our view. A Civil War fort, Fort Rodman was named after Lieutenant Colonel William Logan Rodman of the Union Army. He is the highest ranking soldier from New Bedford who received the Purple Heart, having been killed in action during the Civil War. There are probably some of you wondering, although lots of questions have been answered, what a Purple Heart is, who started it, and what it does. President George Washington created a forerunner of the Purple Heart in 1782. The Purple Heart was originally called the Badge of Military Merit. It was unique in that it is one of the first medals in military history that could be awarded to service members of any rank, from private to general. It is a purple, heart-shaped cloth that George Washington presented to soldiers. Why purple, you ask? Well, I have an answer for that. Purple was chosen to symbolize courage and bravery. Also, the color purple has historical ties to royalty, nobility, which further emphasize the honor associated with the award. In 1932, General Douglas MacArthur redesigned the award to what it looks like today. But it was only awarded for merit. However, during World War II, they started awarding it to those who were wounded in action, and subsequently, they awarded it to those who were also killed in action. Today, the Purple Heart is awarded for those who are under the 4 requirements. The first one is you must be killed in action due to enemy fire. The second one is wounded in action due to enemy fire. The third one I call the Pat Tillman NFL player clause. Pat Tillman was an NFL football player who, after 9/11, joined the Army, the Special Forces, deployed to Afghanistan, got in a firefight with the Taliban, and was killed in action. In the grieving process, the family, the Army awarded him the Purple Heart. And then they did, and as an ongoing investigation was going on, they realized that he was not killed by enemy fire, but was killed by friendly fire. And the Army went to take the Purple Heart back. Of course, there was a big outrage from the family, the NFL, and probably everybody who thinks about that. So the Pentagon bowed to that pressure and changed the requirements of the Purple Heart, and they added a third requirement. Wounds caused by friendly fire during enemy engagement. And that's what Pat Tillman symbolized. The fourth one, which has come about from the Iraq-Afghanistan campaigns, are concussion-type injuries caused by enemy-generated explosions, that's improvised explosive devices, and these are the hidden wounds that service members have, coming back to concussion effect from these large bombs going off in close proximity. One thing, self-inflicted wounds do not count. So if you shoot yourself in the foot, you don't get a Purple Heart. So who makes the determination of who gets a Purple Heart? Is it the commanding officer? No, it's not. It's a medical determination. The medical personnel do that. Make the determination if an injury falls within the scope of meriting a Purple Heart. Between the Afghanistan and Iraq campaigns, over 47,000 service members were wounded in action and received the Purple Heart, a 92% survival rate, the highest it's ever been. How did that happen? Well, here we go. Another question, another answer. Dust off was the call sign of Army Air Ambulance units flying Black Hawk helicopters. Yeah. Medevac units were on duty 24/7 throughout the Iraq and Afghanistan theater of operations. Okay. Their rapid response was critical to getting wounded personnel to medical facilities within 60 minutes, also known as the golden hour. This rapid response, coupled with new technology and medical techniques, were instrumental in the high survival rate of 92%. I spoke with my cousin, Colonel Pedro Almeida, who commanded the 10th Mountain Aviation Brigade in Afghanistan. He stated that 7 minutes was the standard for time to get that aircraft airborne, from the time to call into the command post to being dusting off to go to the site. He said most of his guys could get it faster than that. Now, I can be fully clothed and can't get out of the house in 7 minutes. And these guys get a helicopter off in 7 minutes. The crew consisted of 2 pilots, a crew chief, and just one medevac individual, one medic. Oh, by the way, the Marine Corps calls medics corpsmen. There you go, corpsmen. I want to talk about four folks from New Bedford who two brothers from World War II, a Vietnam veteran, and then also a Iraq veteran. The first one is police. I want to make note that police officer Joseph Camara from New Bedford was killed in action in Iraq on 1 September 2003 in Iraq. There's thoughts about naming buildings after people, and he'd definitely be a good candidate. Where's the mayor? There he is. The second one I want to talk about is two brothers, the Rose brothers, Marty Rose and Albert Rose. Marty was a waist gunner on a B-17 bomber. He's of Cape Verdean descent. Albert, his brother, was a sergeant in the 92nd Division, and he was a Buffalo soldier stationed in Italy. That's the kind of and back then, the service was segregated. So you had two brothers, one's in the B-17 unit, and one's in the Buffalo soldier unit. Well, Marty, the B-17 gunner, his bird got shot down over Germany in January of 1945. Thrown from the aircraft at 35,000 feet, he was either knocked unconscious by the explosion, or he just went unconscious because at 35,000 feet, I know this, you only have 7 to 10 seconds of useful consciousness. So as he's floating down at probably about 120 miles an hour through minus 40-degree weather at 35,000 feet, a little chilly. At about 17,000 feet, as he recounted it, he opened his parachute. He floated to the ground, but he's going to have a hard time. Then the Germans captured him. He wasn't going anywhere because he had 2 broken legs. And he spent the rest of his time in the German hospital. He was listed as missing in action. A month later, his brother Albert, my aunt's husband, she's a Gold Star, was killed in action in Italy in February of 1945. Now, people in New Bedford were very, saddened because 2 brothers were thought to be dead. And Marty was repatriated after the war. The third one I'm going to talk about is Private Edward Almeida. He's a Vietnam veteran, young Cape Verdean kid from the South Central area. He wanted to get out of New Bedford and go do something, and he wanted to join the Army. So they went down, and it was during the Vietnam War. So they went down to the recruiting office with his parents because he had to get permission because he was 17. He signs up, goes to boot camp, goes to jump school, and they send him to Vietnam. And he's in Vietnam about 9 to 10 months. And then he had a birthday, and he turned 18 while he was in Vietnam. A month later, he was killed in action. He was the first soldier from New Bedford to be killed in action during Vietnam. Now, here comes the catch. Private Almeida was not 17 when he enlisted. He was 16. And he went to boot camp as a 16-year-old. He went to jump school as a 16-year-old, and he was sent to Vietnam as a 16-year-old. And he didn't die on his 18th birthday. He died shortly after his 17th birthday. And I'll leave that at that. New Bedford has a long history of service in the U.S. Armed Forces, from the Revolutionary War to present day. As you drive around the city, the reminders are everywhere. On small intersecting squares, at Button Park, Common Park, Klasky Park are good examples. Next time you're out and about, just stop. Take a look at these memorials. They are a reminder of those who gave all for their community, their city, and their country. I'd like to thank you for having me here and having us have the rest of the program.
Thank you, Lieutenant Colonel. I would be remiss if I didn't also state something that we have over in the World War I section that we discovered and began to point out to everyone that comes in, as well as the whole community, is that the first Cape Verdean American to receive the Purple Heart was Joseph Monte. He was in the Army. He was wounded out between the lines, could not be retrieved and brought back and captured by the Germans. It was in a POW camp until the end of World War I. So severely wounded that he did not return back to New Bedford until 1919. I always mention him because many times we hear in the media something negative about that area. And it's named after another one of our local heroes. So I'd just like to call his name out. This basically concludes our service. So at this time, Mayor Mitchell, I'd like to have permission to retire the colors.
Retire the colors.
Advance. Please stand. I want to thank everyone for attending today. I would also like to again thank the United States Marine Corps League 1399 for their assistance today with the color gun. The attendance of many of the local veterans organizations, including the DAV, the VVA, Chapter 449, VFW Post from Freetown, and I believe there's one other veterans group I may have missed here. Thank you for attending. We have plenty of refreshments there. Help yourself, and have a good afternoon. Thank you.